Hello, my name is Leah Sugarman and this is your hip stretch. So to begin today, start in a tabletop position on all fours. Before you jump into that, you might want to grab some props for today. So you might want to grab any yoga blocks that you might have, a towel or a blanket or a pillow, anything that you have lying around you might want. You don't need them, they're not essential, but you might want to have them nearby just in case. So then when you have all that, come into a tabletop position with your shoulders roughly stacked over your wrists, hips roughly stacked over your knees. And then step your right foot forward next to your right thumb. Rise up either onto props or your fingertips or fists and elongate the crown of your head forward as you sink the weight of your hips toward the floor. Now you're more than welcome to stay as you are, or if it feels good for you, you can tuck your back toes under and maybe slide your back knee down a little bit as you release it back down toward the floor. So again, relax the weight of your hips down, elongate your spine up away from the floor, and soften down into your hips. So you're welcome to stay low if this feels nice. If you would prefer, you can bring one hand followed by the other onto your front thigh. Maybe gently press your hands away from your thigh as you lift and lengthen your spine. Again, soften the weight of your hips down, but imagine lifting the weight of your spine up away from your pelvis. And again, you could stay as you are, or if you want to, you could even rise up a little bit higher and then tuck your tailbone under and tilt your tailbone down toward the floor. So you create a little bit of a tuck in your pelvis, and you might feel a subtle intensification of the stretch along your left hip flexors. So again, you can find the variation of this position that feels the best for you. Now, wherever you are in this stretch, take another deep inhale. And if your arms are lifted, exhale, slowly release them back down to the floor. Place your palms flat down against the mat. And then heel ball toe your right foot towards your left hand. And roll onto the pinky side of your right foot as you slowly release the weight of your right knee and your calf down toward the floor. Now you're welcome to have your shin roughly parallel to the top of your mat. For most people, they'll like it a bit better to draw their heel in a little bit closer toward their pelvis. And then tuck your back toes under and slide your back knee down the mat as you release your weight toward the floor or to props. So now you might want to grab all your pillows or blankets and slide them underneath your pelvis. Or you could release your hips down to the floor. So find a place that feels really comfortable and supported for you. And then rise up onto your fingertips. Walk your hands close in toward your right knee and your shin. And then root down against the floor to lift and lengthen your whole spine up toward the sky. Now you might enjoy the sensation happening in your left hip flexors and along the front of the left side of your leg. Maybe you would prefer to fold the weight of your torso forward and down, feel more sensation in the back of your right hip. You could play around between these two places. You could rest over props. You could rest on your forearms. You could stay up on your palms. So find the position that feels the best for you. Very subtly, energetically draw your front knee and your back knee toward each other. So without movement, just subtly magnetize them in toward each other. This will help to square your hips forward in space as you soften into the hips. So find a place where you feel some sensation in your stretch, but some place that feels tolerable and sustainable so that you can relax into it. So again, that might mean grabbing some more props and supporting your body. Perhaps it means staying up higher, or maybe it means going down lower. Find the positioning that feels best for you in this moment. As you soften your body, really bring your awareness around your hips. Observe the sensations of stretch. Observe where you might be able to let go of any unnecessary tension consciously. So take another 2 deep breaths here. And if you folded forward, slowly rise back up onto your palms. Tuck your back toes underneath and just gently slide your back knee in so that you can lift your hips. You can move any props over toward the side as you slide your right knee back down into a tabletop position. So here you might want to just sway your hips gently from side to side, release any tension that might have built. You may wish to take some circles with your hips, move in one direction and then the other. Just give yourself a moment to release your hips from all of that pretty intense stretching before you prepare for the other side. So when you're ready, come back to a neutral position and then step your left foot forward next to your left thumb. Rise up onto fists, fingertips, or props and sink the weight of your hips down as you simultaneously lengthen the weight of your spine up. So again, you could stay like this. If you'd like to, you could tuck your back toes underneath and slide your back knee down your mat to release the weight of your hips perhaps a little bit closer toward the floor, or maybe to intensify the stretch in the front of your right hip. Again, this might feel nice, so you may choose to stay here. You have the option to bring one hand and then the other onto your front thigh. Maybe gently press your hands against your thigh and your thigh against your hands to lengthen your spine up toward the ceiling. And if this feels nice, again, you could stay here like this. If you want to, you could draw yourself a little bit higher up away from the floor and tilt your pelvis downward. So tuck your tailbone under so that you perhaps create a little bit more of a sensation through the front of your right hip. So find the position that feels the best for you right now and allow yourself to settle into it. Allow yourself to soften and relax into the shape. Wherever you are, take another deep breath in. And if you lift it up, slowly release your hands down toward the floor. Rest your palms flat against the mat. And then heel ball toe your left foot toward your right hand. Roll onto the pinky side of your left foot so that you can relax the weight of your left knee and your whole left shin down toward the floor. So you're more than welcome to have your shin roughly parallel to the top of the mat. You have the option to draw your heel in slightly closer towards your pelvis so that your shin is at an angle with the top of the mat. Find the position that feels best for you. And then tuck your back toes underneath and slide your back knee down the mat to relax the weight of your pelvis either onto props or toward the floor. So again, grab any props that you'd like to support you underneath your hips. And then just gently rise up to your fingertips, root down against the floor and elongate your spine. Without movement, just energetically draw your knees toward each other, square your hips forward in space, and either choose to stay here. Maybe you feel intense sensation through the front of your right hip here, and you may wish to stay in that stretch. Perhaps you would prefer to fold the weight of your torso forward and down and rest over props or onto your forearms or straight to the floor. And perhaps this makes you feel intense sensation through the back of your left hip. So you get to choose where you'd like to feel your stretch today. Find the place that feels the best in this moment, where you feel some sensation, but a place that is also sustainable, where you can relax into that sensation. So allow yourself to soften. Let the weight of your pelvis become heavier and heavier. Draw your awareness to your hips. And visualize them gently releasing any unnecessary tension. Notice the rhythm of your breath and see if you can slow that rhythm to further release any unnecessary tension. And take another 2 deep breaths here. And if you folded forward, inhale to slowly rise back up to your palms. Tuck your right toes underneath and very slowly draw your right knee in closer toward your body until it aligns roughly underneath your hip. And then slide your left knee back into a neutral tabletop position. So again, if it feels nice, you may wish to sway your hips from side to side. You may want to make small circles with your hips or large ones. Just give yourself a little bit of release from any tension that may have built. And then whenever you feel ready, just cross your ankles and release your seat back behind you to find a neutral seated position. So you're welcome, as always, to sit up onto props, elevate your hips as much as you'd like to get really comfortable here. And then draw the soles of your feet together and open your knees out wide. So creating like a diamond shape between your legs. Now you have the option to have your heels further away from your pelvis or closer in towards your pelvis. So they're just going to create different stretches. Find the stretch that feels best for you today. So you're welcome to slide props underneath your knees if you'd like some support there. As always, you could have props underneath your hips. So on an inhale, elongate and lengthen your spine and take your fingertips back behind your hips, either to the floor or onto props. And root down against your fingertips to elongate and lengthen your whole spine. And just notice how this gentle pressure against the floor actually changes the tilt of your pelvis to tip your pelvis forward ever so slightly. And then you have the option to stay here, or you could keep that tilt in your pelvis tipping forward as you lead with your chest and hinge forward from your hips to dive over your legs. Now you can place your hands anywhere that feels comfortable. If you'd like a little bit of added weight in this release, you can gently press your forearms and your elbows against your inner thighs as you surrender forward and down. So whatever position you're in right now, just bring your awareness to the sensation within your hips. And see if you can use the slow rhythm of your breath, to let go of any extra tension that you might be holding there. If you folded forward, inhale to slowly rise back up. And you can keep your legs as they are if you want to switch positions or shake out the legs. Do whatever you want to release any tension that you might be feeling within the hips. But hopefully this short little practice helped to release any tension that's built in your hips. So thank you so much for sharing your practice with me.